So, alright, so we're working on skin right now. So what we got to do, we're going to start with a or start off with doing that Gaussian blur to get our measurement, right? So, I'm going to go over here and do a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. We're just looking at our skin tones and we're seeing like about where it's going to be good. And so we decided that about 9 was good, where it starts to blend our skin together so it looks pretty smooth. Too far. So that looks pretty good right there. That's a good blending right there. I'm not going to apply it. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to add on another layer by hitting Command J. That throws on another layer. I'm going to do a high pass filter. So we're going to go filter, other, high pass. And then we take that measurement that we had, which is about 9, and apply it right there. So 9.1. You don't want to go too crazy. If you go too crazy, then it starts to just look... Actually, that is kind of cool. I like that. Maybe I'll keep doing that from now on. Boom. I like that. Totally going to do this from now on. Looks nice. Anyway. Go back to 9. Sharpens it up. Hit OK. So we've got that high pass filter. Then we're going to add on a third of those pixels in a Gaussian blur. So come up here to filter again. Do blur, Gaussian blur. Now we were at 9 pixels before, so we're going to do this one at 3 pixels. Hit OK. Then we're going to take this little bad boy and we're going to invert it. Filter. Oh, sorry, not filter. Image, adjustment, invert, which is right here. Command I. So flips it around just a little bit. Then change our blending mode over here to linear light. Then it should look pretty wacky, like you woke up and you're just like, oh gosh, is it morning already? Alright, so then we're going to add on, let's drop down our opacity a little bit on this. This is always a good way to kind of tone this down a little bit. So I think that looks pretty good, even 61%. So I'm going to add on another mask again by using my Alt key and clicking on the mask button. That adds an empty mask. And then we're going to go through and we're going to paint this in using a white brush. It brings in that color. Or not that color, the texture on the face. There you go, look how her chin just smooths out right there. So here we go ahead. Before, and after, it just smooths it over. It's really nice. Now with this, you do want to kind of like avoid going over edges because they tend to like just get a little bit too wacky. This does a really good job on skin. And it's faster than going through and like retouching every tiny little bit. And if you look really closely, you still maintain some texture. Right here on her up, right there, you've got texture going on. So then you can also go through on her neck right here, spell that over, looking good. Her arms. Looking pretty decent. So there we go. So she looks pretty smooth right there and pretty natural. Well, hold on, let me drop this opacity down just a little bit. I still think that might be a little bit too crazy. Because you don't want it to look fake. That's the thing with Photoshop. You don't ever want it to look like it's been Photoshopped. You want it to look natural. Alright. That's one. So, there's that. Now, I'm gonna go to my last one really quick. Last one on skin. So you got an easy way that I just showed you with a Gaussian blur. You got the skin with texture. Now I'm gonna show you how to do it with a high pass filter. And this one will kind of change the way you think about filters just a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna go with this chick right here. So this is her after. This is her before. So we got lots and lots of freckles and everything like that, and just multicolored skin. We're gonna smooth that out because this looks really natural in my opinion. I love the way this looks. I think it looks great, and so we're gonna redo this really quick. Okay. So here we go. We got this image right here. What we're gonna do? We're gonna copy the layer right there, and we're gonna do that. We're going to change the blending mode of this to overlay. Okay, so it really sharpens it up. And then, now this is where it gets a little bit weird. We're going to invert it. Let's go image, adjustments, invert, so it looks a little bit wacky. Now look at that. This looks kind of crappy right now. Don't you think? Okay, but don't... It does, yeah. It's kind of a little bit wacky. So we've inverted it, and it's on an overlay, blending mode. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a high pass filter onto it. Go filter, other, high pass. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird because if you watch this, look as I bring this to the left. As I do less filters, it gets sharper. As I bring it to the right. Come on, stupid thing. It gets worse, which is the exact opposite. It shouldn't get shadier. Shouldn't get like fuzzier. We're getting up to about 9 pixels right here. And hit OK. Okay, so that's kind of fuzzy. Now, in order to get this sharper, what we have to do now is put on a Gaussian blur. Now this sounds weird. Why would that work?
Because we actually have an inversion in the image at a different stage compared to the last.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. We inverted the image, so because we inverted the image, for some strange reason in Photoshop, all of the filters work backwards. Okay? Now it's kind of weird. I'm like, what the holy crap, but it works. It's so freaking funny. So then we're going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now the more blur we get, so right now I'm at about 3 pixels, the more blur we give it, the sharper this image becomes. Which is so weird. I mean, I think that is just crazy. But whatever. I'm going to bring this right now to about, let's see, not there. I don't want to go so far because that's not going to give us anything. There we go. That looks nice. Let's bring it down to 3. That looks even better. Okay, so I've got it now to about 3 pixels of a blur, and it's sharpening that up. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. Let's add on another layer mask. It's blank. Then let's paint this in with a white brush. Paint it in as we go. I think this one right here is the most natural one for skin. Now she already had pretty good skin to begin with, so we'll talk a little bit more about how to get rid of like the big blemishes and everything, but this girl right here, she's got good skin already. Don't need to worry too much about her. Go on her shoulders. This kind of just moves everything together. There we go. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so now if you look at her skin. It looks like it's her real skin. Turn it off. All we did is pretty much just like remove or soften any types of blemishes we might have on here. So with these freckles right here, it smoothed out those images, or smoothed that out, but maintained the texture. It's really awesome. She does have a blackhead, which I really want to get rid of, but we'll do that later. Okay, so there's that. Pretty awesome, right? I mean, wasn't that weird? Like you throw in the inversion and suddenly everything's working backwards. Like, what the crap is going on? Anyway, all right. So let's stop this recording right now. Pause the. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Okay, so now we're gonna talk just a little bit more about some of the tools that are out there for retouching. So I'm gonna open up a new image really quick. Just browse some bridge really quick to find it. I think I have bridge open. Yes, I do. All right. So it's on my original Photoshop. This is probably going to be just a little bit of a review for you guys. Let's see. Okay, so starting off with this image right here, we got. I didn't take this image. This is just another image that we have. All right, that's kind of out of focus. Oh well. Okay, so here we go. I've got this image right here. I'm just gonna rasterize it really quick. So I can actually start working on it. Okay, so zooming in, we've got a couple of basic tools to work with. So now, obviously looking here, this girl, she's wearing makeup and everything, but she does have some blemishes that we need to get rid of. So your tools to work with here are pretty much well, let me pull this out just a little bit. It's like this. Pretty much these are your retouching tools to work with. So from the video that we watched before, here are like your dodge and burn tools. Sponge tool, dodge tool, burn tool, something like that. You have your smudge tool right here, which blur tool and sharpen tool. I very rarely use these ones. You got your eraser tool, paint bucket tool. But these right up here, these are kind of like these three right here. Actually, these two right here, probably the main ones. So here we're going to start off with your spot healing brush tool. So the way that this works, you have to have like a little bit of a brush, and you want to make sure that it's set on content aware. And what this basically does is literally like what the video said. Click on it once, it gets rid of it. So it reads the information around the blemish that you're doing and just rewrites the code around it to kind of add it in. Now it works pretty good. Sometimes it does mess up, but really it's a pretty fast little process. I love using this brush because it works so well. It used to suck. Like, I mean, but they've done quite a few different modifications to it to make it not suck so bad. That one didn't quite work too good. Ugh. Actually looks a little bit like she's got a scar right there. That's the thing that it can happen sometimes. So in that case, when it starts to like rub so much that it looks like it's got a scar, I like to use the patch tool. Patch tool works where you actually just circle around the blemish, what you want to get rid of, and then you drag it over to a spot that is similar to the texture that you want it to be, and then just click and it replaces it just like that. So let's grab some of this right over here. I love the patch tool. It works amazingly well. That one didn't do too good. Got a couple more issues right up here. Okay, let's grab this one. Okay, so that's the patch tool. You also have your original healing brush tool. Now this one, you actually have to determine what texture you're going to be using by holding down Alt and clicking, and then as you click and drag, it just links back to that same texture, and hopefully kind of mimics that same type of a look right there. So say this works good if you've got someone who has got so much acne or so many blemishes that you only have like one spot to work with. And as you see, it goes through and it adds in the darkness and the light where it's needed most. So let's get rid of that. See, but then sometimes it can give this weird like scar look right here, which I don't like. Then we can use something over here. Let's get rid of that one, called the clone stamp tool. Now, the clone stamp tool works kind of the same way, but it moves with you. So let's do, I think I've retouched her a little bit too much. Let's do these veins in her eyes. Got my stamp right there. Now I'm going to go pretty small right here. I'm going to drop my opacity down a little bit too, because if you've got less opacity, you can kind of mess up a little bit and kind of gradually work that in there. See how that X is following me along? And then I can always resample as I go along. Let's get a smaller one right here. It does a pretty good job. Okay, let's undo that really quick. I'm gonna go back up there and do it with a sharper brush. Bring that content aware up. Smaller brush. Zoom in. Clone stamp tool, shortcut S. I'm just trying to get rid of that right there. Because, I mean, even though everyone's got veins in their eyes, no one really likes to see them. You're like, oh, are you drunk? What's going on? Alright, so we got rid of that big giant vein that was in there. Look at this one too. No, that was bad. But here's the thing too. With this small brush, the smaller the brush you have, the more cool damage you can do. So let's go down to these little hairs here. Right here on her chin. So she does have a couple of these little hairs. Let's go get rid of those. Get my stamp tool right here. I'm going to get this even smaller. Sampler right down here. Let's go through. Let's just get rid of that. Bring this opacity up all the way. Okay, you're there. Do it. All I'm doing is just getting rid of these little hairs. Back up just a little bit. So I'm doing a pretty good job, I think. So the higher resolution of an image you've got, the easier this is to work with. Trust me. But here's the other thing. It's like the lower the resolution, the less people are going to notice. So it's kind of like a trade-off. There we go. So we're getting there. Looks like I've got a little blemish right here I can get rid of. I could probably use a bigger brush than that. There we go. She's starting to look pretty good. I mean, she's already a beautiful girl, but, you know, we're trying to get all these other things going on. So I got my stamp tool right there. Now, the way that we used to have to do this, like back in I'm trying to remember which edition Photoshop came around. You'd have to use this marquee tool, this circular marquee tool, circle about approximately where you want it to be. Go through, find something that looked pretty close to it. Let's see, let's go right here. Copy it by hitting Command C and then Command V. It makes another layer. Go and drag that over, pop it in there. Let's see, and then we could, well, hold on, I messed up one thing. Let's go back one step. I forgot to feather it. Marquee, right click, feather that just a little bit so it doesn't have that weird sharp edge. 2 pixels should be fine. Command C, Command V. Grab my move tool, move it over. Boom. So what we used to have to do. And then someone thought, hey, let's just make a tool that does that.
Genius.
Genius, genius, genius. Okay, so let's go back in. Let's get rid of some of these bad boys. Whoops, went a little bit too far. I'm going to go get a healing brush tool. It's pretty good. Okay, so now it looks like we got a little bit of scarring right here. So just like from a little bit of acne, let's just kind of clean that up a little bit. Try and heal her up as much as we can. Come on. A little bit right there too. That's so now this brings up the thought or the question of, hey, like, why are we altering this girl? Why? I mean, what's the point? Aren't we lying to everybody? The question is, and the answer to that one is obviously yes. We are lying to people.
We live in a house of lies.
We do. Literally, we do live in a house of lies. In Photoshop, we definitely do that quite a bit. Let me just get rid of this little bit of fuzz right over here. Bring this thing down. Back over here into the stamp tool. Drop it down. Oops, went a little bit too far on that one. Well, it's somewhat smooth. Yeah. Yeah, but that's the question. It's like, are we doing more damage than we should? I mean, but yeah, we are. It's like we're kind of pushing it along. But the way that I look at it is that I'm not altering. I try not to alter people too much. I'm like I don't like to use the liquify tool all that much. But I'll show you guys how to use it. I don't like to move someone or change someone to the point where they're non-recognizable. I love to do composites. I think those are great. But I love to show people at their best though. Like a blemish on their face, that's not their best. Their skin underneath that blemish will eventually go away. It's nothing permanent. I make a point not to remove moles. I don't remove anything that's going to be permanent. Because I feel like people are humans. We need to. I mean, human beings have feelings, and human beings are beautiful just the way they are, just for the fact that they are human beings.
What if you're working for like a douchebag company and all they care about is like the image to sell a product? What about that?
So that's your own. That's you define your own philosophy on how it works. So, as for me and my house, we will do this. All right. So let's talk about a couple other things. So just to manipulate the image with that being said. So a lot of times people like to make the eyes bigger. Or in this case, like kind of trim up the eyebrows a little bit too. So the default way that a lot of people think is to go through and say, okay, filter, let's do the liquify tool, let's go in and let's make the eyes just that much bigger, do this whole thing. When in reality, there's a much easier way to do this instead of going like that. That was just really quick. I'll show you. Grab your lasso tool. Select let's get a little bit better selection. Feather it just a little bit. Maybe like 20 pixels or so. Copy and then Command Shift V so it pastes it in place. And then you can grab these tools right here, your edges right here. And I've got mine set on Auto Select and Show Transform controls. I'm going to grab one of these corners. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt so that maintains the aspect ratio and also expands it from the inside.
Keeps it centered.
Yep. So there you go. So that made it just a little bit bigger. And already it looks pretty good as far as like size goes. So this is before, this is after, except for her eyebrows looking a little bit wonky. I'm going to turn this down, just kind of try and position this a little bit better. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Because like I said, the whole key to Photoshop is to make everything look as natural as possible. So here we go. Here's the eye right here. Bring this up, maybe just a little bit. Because you don't want to drop her eye down too far. If you drop her eye down too far, she's going to look like she's a little bit...
Like Sloth from the Goonies.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit like Sloth. We don't want that. You don't want to go too far, because if you go too far, then it's like, what the heck just happened? Because you can literally take this thing and just go be like, here we go. She's a freak. So, and it just,
It's the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Subliminal.
yeah, that's what you need to do. It's like that's what works, is by making it look so subtle that no one really notices. And that's the thing that's really crazy, is because it's been so subtle over the years, what we once thought of as beauty is no longer considered beauty. Here, let me add that on just a little bit bigger. Command C, Command Shift V to add that layer on there too. Let's make this one bigger too, to kind of match that one. Oops, missed a little bit. Drop this down here, down by the bottom of the eyelid. It's pretty good, except for right now I've got to mask this just slightly because I didn't feather it the right way. Oops, wrong one. There we go. So now we got two bigger eyes. Although, yeah, that works okay. So now, let's use some of the other tools that we talked about in that video today. It's like the dodge and the burn tool. So here we've got the dodge tool. So with the dodge tool, you can choose your range, right? And we can do highlights, midtones, or shadows. So a lot of the times, midtones will work out really, really well. So let me just show you real quick. I'm going to turn this up. Use this to kind of like lighten up her eyes just a little bit more than 8%. Oh, let me get on the right layer real quick. Go up to highlights. Maybe it's all the way down to shadows. Oh, duh. I'm on the wrong layer. Here we go. This layer was supposed to be like right here. Okay, so here we go. I'm on shadows. See how it's lightening it up? I don't want to go too crazy, because if you go too crazy, then it doesn't look...
Almost like a painting.
Yeah, she looks like a freak right there, so we don't want to do that. Back here down here to the dodge tool. There you go. Key to it is subtlety. Let's go back over here and get this one. Not too much. Now then let's go over to the dodge tool really quick. Sorry, the dodge tool, the burn tool. We're going to burn in a little bit of this right over here. So we got our midtones. Bring it in. Oh, we get on the right layer. Too much, too fast. You don't want to go too fast. The slower you can go, the better. Bring it in right over here. Not a little bit too far. Let's lighten up chin right here. A little bit underneath her eyes.
I got bouncing on the couch.
Okay. Well, let me give you your assignment. So, since I'm not going to be here on Thursday, I forgot to tell you about that. No class on Thursday. The assignment is you guys are going to take a picture of yourself, and you're going to use these tools to retouch. Okay? To retouch a picture of yourself. So I want you guys to have good skin, no blemishes, and if you guys want to do something crazy too, that's totally fine. We didn't get a chance to talk about color correction today, but we talked about it before in Camera Raw. So,
I got a decent grasp on everything we talked about so far.
okay, cool.
It was just really, honestly, the newest things was more like refreshers was the high pass stuff.
Mhm.
Like once a long time ago, totally forgot about it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and I have a question about Photoshop project that we were supposed to like suggest or something like that.